Judge, there are full people in the presiding.
Thank you. Please be seated. We'll call the matter of State of Utah versus Martin MacNeill. He is present with his counsel. The state's attorneys are present. We are outside the presence of the jury. Any housekeeping matters before we begin?
Yes, Judge. If the court recalls, I'm sure the court recalls, with respect to the federal inmates that will be testifying, they're now here from Texas. They're currently housed at the Utah County Jail. And the court issued an order a few weeks back requiring the parties to refer to two of them as inmates 1 and inmates 2. The logistics of laying the foundation for their identities and so forth for the record, I think we can handle at a different time. The reason I bring this to the attention of the court now is that Mr. Robinson, our investigator, had the opportunity to meet with them the night before last and speak to them for a little bit. They are all expressing grave concern about their identities going out. They are expressing concern about their safety upon return to the prison in Texarkana. And at least 3 of them, it's been reported to me, are expressing a desire to actually be sent to a different facility upon return. I don't know how that would work. That's the federal government that would do that. The reason I bring this to the attention of the court is when we argued it beforehand about their identities and the safety, we didn't have any specific information as to inmates 3 and 4. And if the court would like their names, I can approach and give those to the court. I'm asking that the court extend its order to inmates 3 and 4 as well, because they face the same kinds of concerns. And I would ask also that the court, the state, we've entered into an agreement with CNN, who controls the cameras for this proceeding. They've agreed that they would not broadcast inmates 1, 2, 3, or 4, their testimony, as far as the visual images of their testimony. But I'm asking that the court extend its order to inmates 3 and 4 as far as referring to them as that, in addition to not photographing the still photography and showing their images.
Do you have a position on this, or is this news to you?
This is news to me.
Will they be testifying today?
They will not be testifying today.
Okay.
I think the earliest, Your Honor, it would be Friday, more likely Tuesday.
Would you like some time to think about that, to respond?
Yes, please.
Very good. I'll take it under advisement. Why don't we deal with it tomorrow morning?
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. I will say that what's in play is the rule of judicial administration on electronic media coverage. I think there are provisions of that would have application, and so I'll be looking at that this evening as well. Anything else?
Your Honor, the question on the toxicology report that was raised yesterday, if Dr. Dawson, who's testified already, has responded, and I'd like to make a record about his response. And if I could, I'd just like to read his reasoning, which is brief. He said that the short answer to my question about whether that new information about what the approximately 0.1 number meant says that it would make no difference to his opinion. He is very, very familiar with the concept of limit of detection as applied here, and he took that into consideration when forming his opinion. He said promethazine blood levels generally accepted as therapeutic or normal range from 10 nanograms per milliliter to 100 nanograms per milliliter, and it would be able to provide a reference upon request for that range. The level reported in Mrs. MacNeill was reported as less than 100 nanograms per milliliter. Finally, it remains his opinion, based on the totality of the information, that the combination of drugs found in her blood would have produced profound central nervous system depression, which is what he testified to. So it's the state's intention at this point not to recall him.
Although that remains a possibility.
Yeah, although, yeah, I mean, that it is possible that we would recall him for clarification or for rebuttal.
That's what I received.
Okay. Do you have a position about whether you need to talk to him again?
Your Honor, I'm still evaluating the circumstance, and I don't know that I'll be able to completely form a position until Dr. Rollins takes the stand.
Okay. Dr. Dawson remains under trial subpoena, right?
He does.
Okay, we can get him back if necessary, so,
We talked about his availability, so if we need him back, we can bring him back
good.
early next week or even Friday possibly, so.
Have any of the other experts responded at this point?
Yes, Your Honor. Dr. Gray and Dr. Rollins both responded, and I've provided their responses to Mr. Spencer.
Okay. Anything else today, then?
In relation to Dr. Rollins' response, I think it's much less than adequate. He simply responds by indicating that, well, therefore he cannot determine when the promethazine was taken. Doesn't respond at all with any rationale in relation to potential synergistic effects, which is also part of his report.
If I could have a minute to pull it up, Your Honor, I think it's a little, my understanding is his response to be a little more comprehensive than that. Sorry, it's just taking a minute to open. What he wrote was that based on this information, I cannot form an opinion about whether promethazine was a factor in the death of Michele MacNeill, which I understand to mean more than just not only about when she took it, but what role it may have played in any combination effect or whether it played any role at all in her death. That he can't form an opinion, period, with regard to promethazine.
Does his opinion remain helpful in light of that conclusion?
I believe certainly it does.
How so?
Well, he still has an opinion about zolpidem and the diazepam. He draws conclusions from the half-life of zolpidem and from the metabolite value of the nordiazepam in relation to the diazepam for conclusions about when those drugs were taken, about how often they would have been taken. So when it comes to the rest of the cocktail that was found in her blood, he certainly has relevant things to say and weigh in on.
And do you believe that you'll be able to lay foundation for his taking into account post-mortem redistribution?
I think so, Your Honor.
Okay. We'll see how that goes. Anything?
I'm sorry, and on his testimony, I think we have a rough, maybe not a finalized stipulation that even though the court ordered that Dr. Gray would be allowed to testify tomorrow, but that none of the other doctors would be called until after Thursday, has your position changed on calling Dr. Rollins tomorrow at all?
No, with the exception of his report, which
Okay.
I
Well,
think is...
maybe it's premature to talk about this then. I'll discuss it with Mr. Spencer and maybe address it at the end of the day.
Very good. Anything else this morning, then?
Not from the state, Your Honor.
Who's first today?
First off is Vanessa MacNeill.
Could we get her here? Let's bring the jury in. Thank you. Please be seated. We'll go back on the record in the matter of State of Utah versus Martin MacNeill. He is present with his counsel. The state's attorneys are present and the jury is seated. Good morning. Thank you for being prompt. You may call your first witness.
Your Honor, the state calls Vanessa MacNeill.
Ms. MacNeill, if you'll come forward here to the clerk's desk, please raise your right hand and be sworn. Just right up here.
You do solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give in the case and will come before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Thank you. Please be seated right here. Just printed my-
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
Good morning.
Morning.
Would you please state your name?
Vanessa MacNeill,
Vanessa, how do you spell your last name?
MacNeill.
What city do you live in?
I live in Salt Lake City.
And how old are you, Vanessa?
I'm 32.
Okay. How long have you lived in Salt Lake City? Approximately.
Like 10 years, maybe?
About 10 years? Okay. Are you familiar with Martin MacNeill?
Yes.
Who is Martin MacNeill?
It was my dad.
Okay. Is he in the court today? Mm-hmm. Where is he seated, Vanessa?
It's right there.
Do you see the color of tie that he's wearing?
Yes.
What color is that?
Blue.
If the court would reflect the identification of the defendant, Your Honor, if the record would.
Do you stipulate?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
When's the last time you saw your father, Vanessa?
I went to visit him when he was in the...
You visited him some time ago?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can you describe your relationship with your dad growing up? Did you get along with him?
Yes.
Okay. How do you know Michele MacNeill?
That's my mom.
Okay. Were you living in your parents' home with your parents in April of 2007?
No.
Okay. Where were you living at that time?
I was living in Bluffdale.
Okay. And do you recall how old you would have been back in 2007?
I was 25.
You were 25. Okay. Had you been outside of the home for some time?
Yes.
The family home? Okay. Where was the family home when you last lived with your parents?
It was in Orem.
In Orem? Okay. I'm going to ask you just a little bit about some of your history. Okay, Vanessa?
Okay.
Have you been convicted of a felony?
I have.
Okay. And what was that?
Possession
Possession of what?
of heroin.
Of heroin? Okay. Do you recall how long ago that was?
That would have been in 2011.
Okay. Are you presently on probation for that offense?
I am.
Okay. You mentioned it was heroin.
Yes.
Are you a drug addict?
I am.
Okay. Are you presently clean?
I am.
Okay. I'm going to ask you about some events that took place back in April of 2007, around that time frame.
Okay.
Do you have a memory of that?
Yeah.
Is it a perfect memory?
No.
Okay. Do you recall where you were when you found out about your mother's death?
Mm-hmm.
Where were you, Vanessa?
I was at a place that I was living in Bluffdale.
Okay. Can you describe the circumstances upon learning of your mom's death?
I got a phone call from my brother
And who's your brother? What's his name?
Damien.
Damien, okay. What happened after you received that phone call?
I think I threw the phone against the wall, broke the phone
Okay.
because I was upset.
You remember about what time of day this would have been?
Early afternoon, I guess.
Okay. Was this on the date of April 11th, 2007?
It was.
Okay. You mentioned that you threw your phone against the wall and broke it. What did you do next?
I waited for a ride to go down to my parents' house.
Did you ultimately get down to your parents' house?
I did.
Okay. Who was at the home when you went in? Do you remember?
Like everybody that was there. I don't really remember everybody that was
As far
there.
as family members, immediate family members, do you remember?
Yeah, they were all everybody, except I don't think Rachel was there.
Okay. Did you see your father?
I did.
Okay. Did you interact with him? Did you speak to him at all? Mm-hmm. You remember anything about that?
No, not really.
Okay. Did you, you mentioned that you broke your phone upon hearing of your mom's death. Mm-hmm. Did you get another phone soon thereafter?
Later.
Later.
Yeah, a little. Yeah.
Were you given a phone?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whose phone was that?
It was my mom's. It was my mom's.
Okay. And do you remember when you received that phone? Just to start using that phone?
I don't remember exactly when it was. I don't remember exactly, a couple weeks maybe, or a week. I don't know, actually.
Maybe a couple of, well, you're not sure about when you received it in relationship to your mom's passing?
I don't.
Okay.
But it wasn't right after, like immediately after or anything, because I wasn't thinking about having a phone or using a phone.
Okay. So at some point you received the phone. Mm-hmm. How did you know that it was your mom's phone? Who gave it to you?
My dad said I could use it.
And was there something about the phone that led you to believe or to know that it was your mom's phone?
Well, it was my mom's phone number, and it was her. I knew what her phone, was, and it was. I mean, not.
Were there any messages that were left on that phone? Voicemails?
There were.
Okay. Can you describe how many that you remember and when those messages were left?
I don't remember exactly when they were left. There was a couple of voicemails that I can recall.
Do you recall the date of those voicemails?
They were the day that my mom died.
The day that your mom died? Mm-hmm. Okay. Were they during that morning?
Yeah, they were in the morning. One was about 11 o'clock. The second one, I think.
Okay. So the first one was earlier than 11? Mm-hmm. Do you today remember approximately what time that first one came in?
I don't.
Okay. Did you listen to those messages?
I did.
Okay. And who left the messages?
My dad.
Your dad did? Mm-hmm. You obviously recognize your dad's voice.
Yes.
You've talked to him on the phone before.
Many times.
And in person.
Many times.
Were the two messages similar in nature as far as the content? What was said?
Yeah.
Okay. What was said in those messages?
I don't remember exactly what was said, but I remember my dad was saying to stay.
Who was he talking to?
He was talking to my mom,
Okay.
leaving messages for my mom saying that he was worried, he needed her to stay in bed, that he was worried about her, that he wanted her to stay in bed and to not move around.
Have you previously been interviewed about those messages by law enforcement?
Yeah, yes,
Doug Whitney, investigator Doug Whitney?
I believe so.
Okay. Did you in fact tell him that in the message your dad also told your mom not to go anywhere?
I don't remember. if that's what it says.
Okay. May I approach your line?
You may.
Vanessa, I'm going to ask you just to read to yourself from approximately here on the page down to about there. Just read that to yourself right now. If you're
Okay.
Does that help refresh your memory a little bit about what he said
Um,
in those messages?
yeah, I mean, I don't remember that much, but I remember the messages.
Okay. Did you, in fact, tell investigators that your dad told your mom to not go anywhere? Don't you dare go anywhere?
Yeah, that's what it says there.
To take it easy?
Mm-hmm.
That he indicated that I'm coming home,
Yes.
that I'm going to make you a sandwich, and we'll have a lovely lunch together? Did you tell investigators that?
Yes.
Okay. Does that sound consistent with what that message was?
Yes.
Okay. Did you, at any point, when your mom passed, volunteer to help with the kids, with the younger children?
I did.
And do you remember when that happened?
From the time right after my mom died until
Sometime after there.
yeah.
You made yourself available to help with the kids.
Yes.
Did you tell your dad that?
Yes.
How did he respond?
He said that everybody needs to get back to their lives. That he was going to hire a nanny, and yeah, that everyone needed to get back to their lives and things needed to get back to, normal.
Okay. You mentioned the hiring of a nanny. Did you participate in the process of hiring a nanny?
I did.
Tell us a little bit about that.
What would you?
How did that happen? Did you interview applicants or potential nannies?
Yes. Well, myself and my little brother and his girlfriend, we were supposed to interview potential applicants, and then only one showed up.
Okay.
So,
I'm handing you what's been marked as exhibit number 18. Do you recognize that?
the person? Oh, sorry.
Is that a photograph?
Yeah.
Who's in that?
That's Gypsy.
Gypsy, okay. Did you know her by another name?
I didn't know her as Gypsy at the time. She was introduced to me as Jillian.
Jillian, okay.
Jillian Willis. Yeah.
Jillian Willis. And who is Jillian Willis in relationship to this nanny hiring process?
She was the one that showed up.
She was the one that showed up. Okay. Did you in fact interview her?
Yes.
Okay. What happened after the interview?
Well, I had called my sister and told
What sister's that?
Alexis,
Okay.
and told her not to worry, that there had to be some sort of a mistake because she was worried about. Oh, sorry.
Do you,
I think
why
it's
are
being
you
offered.
why are you offering it?
for her reaction to what Alexis was saying.
I'll receive it for the effect on the hearer. Overruled.
So Alexis talked to you about this applicant, this individual. What did she say?
She asked if the person coming over's name was Gypsy, and I said no, that was Jillian,
Okay.
not Gypsy, and I told her there was nothing to worry about.
Why did you say there was nothing to worry about?
Because I was convinced that she wasn't somebody to worry about that my dad might be involved with.
Why is that?
Because she was nothing like my mom.
Your Honor, I'll pass the witness.
Thank you. You may cross.
Hi, Vanessa.
Hi.
This will be really quick. I just
Okay.
have one question for you, okay?
Yeah.
Alexis was present with you during the interview that you had with Doug Whitney?
I don't remember.
Okay. All right.
I'm sorry.
All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Anything else?
Just one. You mentioned that Ms. Willis was the only one to show up.
Yes.
Are you aware of whether or not there were other applicants for the nanny position? Did your dad ever say anything to you about that?
He said that there were, but that they had all canceled.
Okay. Nothing further.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Ladies and gentlemen, do you have any questions for Ms. MacNeill? May she be released from her trial subpoena?
Yes, Judge.
Any objection?
No objection.
Ms. MacNeill, you'll be released from your trial subpoena, which means you won't be brought back. You may step down. Thank you.
The
Next.
state calls Sabrina MacNeill.
Ms. MacNeill, if you'll come up here to the clerk's desk first, please raise your right hand and take an oath.
You do solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give in the case now pending before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Thank you. Would you be seated here, please, and respond to counsel's questions?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Will you please give the court your name?
Sabrina Michele MacNeill.
And how do you spell your last name, Sabrina?
It's MacNeill.
May I have permission to approach her?
You may.
Sabrina, how old are you?
I'm 19 years old.
19 years old? Okay. And where do you currently live?
I live in Logan, Utah. I go to Utah State University.
You're at Utah State University?
Yes.
Okay, what are you studying?
I'm undeclared right now. Just trying to figure it out.
Your general education, GE classes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
How long have you been up at Utah State?
Almost, it's been a year and about 2 months.
Okay. Are you familiar with Martin MacNeill?
Yes.
Who's Martin MacNeill?
He's my father. He adopted me.
Okay. Is he in the court today?
He is, yes.
Where is he seated?
Right over there.
Okay. Is he wearing a blue tie?
Yes.
Thank you. You mentioned that he adopted you.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about what happened, that process?
Well, I was first adopted by a lady in New York City.
I'm going to back you up just a little bit. Where are you from originally, Sabrina?
Ukraine.
From the Ukraine?
Yeah, Gorlivka, Ukraine.
Okay. And How old were you when you were first adopted?
I was 10 years old.
10 years old, okay. And tell us what happened then.
And so, yeah, I was adopted by Valerie Carney. She lives in New York City. I was adopted with my little sister, who's 14 right now, and it ended up not working out. She just wanted my little sister, so I was readopted by the MacNeills. I came to visit them over the summer. It was about 3 or 4 months after living in New York City, and they wanted to adopt me.
Okay. How long did you live? Was there kind of a trial period before the adoption that you lived with the MacNeill family for a little bit?
I lived with them for about a month
For about a
before I
month.
was adopted.
Okay,
Yes.
and how old were you when that happened?
I was 10 years old when I was adopted, and then I turned 11 on April 12th. So I turned 11 around the time I was adopted
Okay.
into the MacNeill family.
Are you familiar, do you have any other siblings in the MacNeill family that were adopted as well?
Yes.
And who are they?
Elle MacNeill, she also lives with me in Logan, Utah right now. And then Giselle and Noelle. Noelle I've never met before. And then Giselle, she was with the family. I don't know what she is doing right now.
Can you describe kind of where you're at as far as in the family age-wise compared
I'm
to
the-
Elle and Giselle?
I'm the second youngest. Ada's the youngest, and I'm the youngest. So out of the adopted kids, I'm the youngest.
So who's older than you then? In what order?
So it goes me, I'm the youngest, and then Elle, she's 20 years old. She's a year older than me. And then Giselle, they had her age change, so I'm not positive. I haven't seen her in a long time.
Okay. Do you know where Elle and Giselle came from?
Ukraine. Elle was in my she was in the same orphanage as me, and Giselle was in an internat. I don't know where. In Ukraine.
Can you describe what it was like growing up in the MacNeill home with both the defendant and Michele, his wife?
It was wonderful. I mean, I came from Ukraine. I've always dreamed of a family like the MacNeills when I was first adopted. My mom was just wonderful. It was exactly what I dreamed of. Just perfect. I mean, I took ballet. I went to school. I had a wonderful family. It was perfect.
Did your mom support you in your ballet and your school?
Oh yes, she loved ballet in school, and I always did really well in school, and yeah.
How often did you interact with Martin, the defendant?
I saw him once in a while. He worked a lot. He was gone all the time, but I mean, I saw him
Okay.
sometimes.
Do you remember what grade you were in when you came to the MacNeill family?
I started 4th grade.
Started 4th grade?
Yeah, they held me a grade back so I could learn English, and then once I learned English, I skipped 6th grade and then was with my age group.
And your English is very well.
Thank you.
It's very good. Let me ask you about, where did you go to school at this time when you first joined the MacNeill family?
Orem Elementary.
Or elementary? Okay.
We lived in Orem.
Did at some point you move to Pleasant Grove?
Yes, it was, when we moved to Pleasant Grove, I went to John Hancock Charter School, and that was, so I didn't go to 6th, so it was 7th grade. I started in 7th grade.
Okay. Do you remember, did your mom normally take you to school and pick you up?
She did,
Describe
yes.
that if you would.
She would, I'd get ready, she'd take me to school, drop us off, and then she would come and get us after school.
You remember about what time in the morning you would go to school at John Hancock?
Gosh, I think, I am not positive, but around 7:30.
Around 7:30?
7:38,
Pretty early in the morning?
yeah.
Okay. I'm going to take you back to April of 2007, specifically April 11th of 2007. Do you recall that date and that time period?
Yes, I do.
What grade were you in at that time?
Gosh, I think 7th.
Okay.
Still 7, I don't know.
Did you at some point learn about Michele's death?
Yes.
When did you learn about that?
Well, I was at school, and I heard a bunch of ambulances go by, and I just thought to myself, oh, I hope that's not from my like anyone in my family. And about a couple hours later, my brother's friend Chris, he came and picked my sisters and I up from school, and he took us to his house. And I remember sitting next to Ada, my little sister, and and I asked her, Ada, do you know what's going on? Do you know what's going on? And she goes, well,
Well, I'll move on, Your Honor.
Sustained.
So when you were talking with Ada, I won't ask you about what she said.
okay,
But when you were talking with Ada, where were you at again?
at Chris's house.
At Chris's house. Did
Yes.
at some point did he take you to your family home
Yes.
in Pleasant Grove?
We were there for about an hour or so, and then he took us to the house.
Okay. You remember going to the house?
Yeah, I remember walking in, and I already knew at that time that something really bad, or I already knew, like, I knew that something bad had happened, and
Did someone eventually tell you what had happened?
yes, it was my dad. And I remember I ran into my room, and I was already really, really emotional. I was already crying, and I was on the floor, like sitting down by my armchair, and then my sister was sitting on my bed, and my dad walked in with the towel over his face.
And what did he say?
And he took the towel down a little bit, and he said, well, girls, I don't know how to tell you this, but your mom's dead.
Okay. Did he say anything else
He didn't say
to
anything.
make you feel better about her passing?
I don't remember him saying anything else.
I'm handing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 18. Do you know what that is?
I don't.
Is this a photograph?
Yes.
Do you know who's in that photograph?
Yes. It's Gypsy Jillian Willis.
Okay. Have you always known Gypsy Jillian Willis as Gypsy, or is there another name?
Jillian. I knew her as Jillian.
Okay. When do you recall first meeting Jillian?
It was about a couple weeks, maybe probably 3 weeks or a couple weeks after my mom passed.
Okay.
And my dad introduced her to me and my sisters, and he said,
Okay, go ahead.
well, he just said, okay, girls, this is going to be your new nanny, and she's going to be living downstairs, and she's a nurse, and she's going to school, and she will be your nanny.
Okay. Can you describe how she functioned as a nanny, what she did around the home, and what she did for you as...
She didn't
What did she do?
do much. She made spaghetti once, and that was the only time she ever cooked, and she didn't do anything. She lived downstairs.
Did she drive you around? Did she take you to ballet and things like that?
I don't remember her doing that. Maybe once or twice, but I don't remember her doing anything.
Okay. Did you ever see your dad and Jillian, the nanny, interact together?
Yes.
What did you see?
I remember her going up into my dad's room at night and then have the door closed, and I just remember staying up at night thinking, what in the world? I mean, I thought she was our nanny. Why is she up in Dad's room?
Did you ever see them leave together or leave about the same time?
The only time I remember them leaving at the same time is when my dad said that he was going on vacation and she was going to go visit her sick grandma or grandpa in Wyoming. And she would leave and then he would leave. So they would go on these vacations at the same time.
Was this one time, you mentioned you could remember one time, or was this more than once?
I can remember one time for sure, but I think it was a couple of times.
Okay. Taking you back to April 11th, 2007, the day that Michele died.
Yes,
Did you see her that morning?
I did, yes.
When did you see her?
It was right before I went to school, and I went into the room, and she had just woken up, so she was really tired, but I went in and I talked to her, and I said, hey, Mom, I left my ballet bag at ballet, but I'm going to get it after school, don't worry, and then I said my goodbyes. And then I just said, hey, well, I just said goodbye to her, and then I went to school.
How did she seem to you physically?
Physically, she was normal. There was nothing odd about her behavior at all. She was tired because she just woken up, but we had a perfectly just normal conversation.
Was she still recovering from surgery?
She was a lot better. I think it was, she was fine to me.
If you told investigators that she still had some bandages on her face, would that be accurate
No,
at that time?
not at that time.
Okay. You don't remember any bandages on her face at that time?
Not at that time.
If you were shown a transcript of an interview that you did you do an interview at the Children's Justice Center several years ago?
I did, yes.
Okay. If you told the interviewer that you still thought she had bandages on her face, would that be accurate,
No,
what you said?
no. I don't remember her having bandages on her face
Okay.
when I came in and talked to her
Okay.
that morning.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
You may cross.
Hi,
Thank you. I think you speak English better than most of us in this room.
thank you.
Okay, so you said that your dad was the one who told you that your mother passed away?
Yes,
And that was in your room?
yes.
And your younger sisters were there?
Elle was there. She's older than me.
Okay, weren't Giselle and Ada there as well?
I don't remember if they were in my room. I remember Elle was in my room.
Okay, did you tell investigators that Giselle and Ada were there as well?
I don't believe so.
And your dad was upset when he was telling you that your mother had died?
He seemed kind of, he had a towel over his face when he came in the room.
When he was crying?
I guess he was crying. I don't remember. He had a towel over his face. He took it down to tell us that our mom died, and that's it. All I remember.
Okay, do you remember telling investigators that your dad was crying when he was telling you about your mom dying?
I don't remember that. I might have said that.
May I approach Your Honor?
You may.
Okay, Sabrina, can you look at page 15, line 11?
I really don't remember if he was crying or not.
Okay, well,
But I did say that, so I don't.
So you said to the investigators that he had a towel covering his face because he was crying. But he said that he was really grateful that families could be together forever, and he just started crying.
He did say that. Now I had forgotten, it's been so long, but he did say that. He did say that he's glad that families could be together forever.
And that he was crying?
I don't remember.
That's what you said there.
Yes.
How long did you live with Alexis?
Alexis, for about 4 years, I guess 5, maybe 5. I don't know.
And you talked to Alexis about your mom's death?
Mhm.
And she talked to you about the nanny?
Yes, but not, when, at what,
Objection foundation, Your Honor.
Sustained.
When did you talk to Alexis about the nanny?
it was, so we were living, my dad had us go live with the Bledsoes in California, and then my sister came and got us from there. My sister started talking to me about the nanny after that, like after we were living in Vegas. I'd heard my siblings talk about them, or her, but not.
Okay.
Now, you
before.
stated that on the morning of your mother's death, that she seemed fine,
She did, yes.
and those are the words you used?
Um,
Those are the words you used today?
Today, yeah, she was fine. She was normal. I mean, she had just woken up, so yes, she was tired, but she seemed fine.
Okay, and
We
that-
had a normal conversation.
Okay, and that was the day that you had forgotten your backpack?
I left my ballet bag at ballet, and I just let her know that I was going to get it after school.
Okay, didn't you tell the investigator, the police officer, that you could tell that your mom was still sick?
Okay,
Can you turn to
I don't
page
know.
17, please? Can you look at line 8? Okay, and so Sergeant Johnston said, and she seemed okay at that time?
Yeah, from what I can remember now, she was not, so maybe when I said sick, I meant like she was just tired. She had just woken up and was tired. There was nothing weird about her.
Okay, but that's not what you told her. You said, yeah, I mean, you could tell she was still sick. Isn't that what you told?
So still sick, meaning recovering, she was tired.
So so that's what you mean by when you say she was still sick, that she was
Yeah.
tired?
I mean, this was so long, the interview was so long ago. That's what I must have meant, because she was fine.
Okay, and that you also told the investigator or this police officer that your mom wasn't herself that morning, right?
I don't
Look
remember.
at line 10. You said, I mean, I don't know, kind of. Well, you can tell she wasn't herself. Isn't that what you told her?
I guess I said that, but she was tired. That's what it was. So by me saying she wasn't herself, I must have meant she was tired, because she was.
Okay, and when you saw her, she was in bed.
No, she was sitting on the couch, right in front of the TV in her room.
Okay, you also talked to the investigator about the day that your mother came home from surgery,
Yes.
and you told her about the bed that was set up for your mother.
Mm-hmm.
And that would have been, she had surgery on the 3rd, so this would have been April 4th,
Okay.
and you saw your mother that day?
Yes, I saw her. They set up a bed for her.
Okay, and she was lying in the bed?
I really don't remember.
Okay. And you remember that she could kind of talk, but not much?
I don't remember.
Okay, do you want to turn to page 16 of your interview transcript? Okay, line 19. Didn't you tell the police officer I don't think she could kind of talk, but not much?
I really don't remember.
Okay,
I
and-
don't remember saying that at all. And I
Okay,
don't
and then let me
remember.
refer you to line 21. Can you look at line 21, Sabrina?
Yes.
Okay, and you said, well, that was the first day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what you're referring to, that was the first day that your mother was back from surgery.
Surgery.
Okay, and then you talk about the next day, right? With the investigator?
Yeah, but I honestly don't remember. I don't remember saying this. It was so long ago, I don't
Let me
remember.
refresh your memory. You told the police officer the next day she could talk a lot more.
Objection, Your Honor. If we're refreshing memory, she needs to be shown the document.
Well, I think she has it in front of her.
Well, let's proceed in that way. She doesn't remember. It may be that reading it will refresh her recollection.
Okay. Would you like to read line 21, the second sentence?
Yeah, the next day she could talk a lot more, but yeah, I don't think she had something over her eyes where she couldn't see.
Okay.
I still, I don't remember.
Okay, but that's what you said,
Not-
according to the transcript?
Yes, according to this, that's what I said.
Okay, and then the police officer said, did you see her that morning, or did you talk to her?
Which morning?
The morning, day 2 after her
Day 2.
surgery, because we're talking about day 2, right?
Yeah.
That would have been April 5th, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so could you read your answer on line 24?
I talked to her actually the same morning she was up.
Okay, so what you're saying is that on April 5th, she was up, right?
Yes. But I don't remember. I really don't.
Okay, well, that's fine. I realize it's been a long time. You said that you didn't see your dad a whole lot. Isn't it true that he cooked dinner for you every night?
I don't remember that.
Okay, and he took you on a cruise?
We did go on a cruise as a family.
Did he take you on
We did.
vacations?
Yeah. I remember going on the cruise.
Okay. Can I have one moment, Your Honor?
You may.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Briefly, Your Honor. Sabrina, do you remember how long ago this interview was? How old you were?
I don't remember. I think I was,
I'm talking about the interview at the Children's Justice Center.
I was, the day after my mom died was April 12th, and that's my birthday. I turned 13 that day. So I must, if it was in that year, I guess, then I was 13 years old.
And if it was a year later, you would have been 14 years old,
Yeah, 14.
a year following that upcoming fall.
Yeah,
So 5 years ago is when you gave that interview.
okay.
You recall your dad saying that families can be together forever.
Yes, he said, we're so lucky that families can be together forever. I do remember him saying that.
Okay. Ms. Guston asked you about a statement that you made to investigators about her not being able to talk much after the first day.
Yeah, I really don't, I don't remember this. I mean, I don't remember saying that at all.
Okay, but you certainly could have said it. Is that?
I
That's
could have,
fair,
I
correct?
could have said that, yes.
Your memory isn't that you said that, but you could have said that.
Yeah, yeah,
Your mom had just undergone a significant facial plastic surgery
yes.
event, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Are you aware that she had been under the effects of anesthesia? She had been knocked out for 6 to 8 hours the day before during that surgery?
I'm at the time,
She may answer whether she's aware, overruled.
at the time, I didn't know she was going to be, I was little, I was young, I didn't know what was going on.
You remember the hospital bed that they had for her?
Yes, I do.
Was that brought in specifically for the surgery
Yes.
to help her recovery?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember her eyes being bandaged up when she first came home?
Yes, they were.
An ace bandage around her head?
I think so.
Okay.
I know her eyes were covered.
Let me refer you, you remember this conversation with your mom on April 11th, 2007, before you went to school.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you to read, first of all, I'm going to ask you to read lines 23 and 24.
Okay, but I saw that same day, I saw Mom in the morning before I went to school. She seemed fine.
What about line? Please read lines 25 and 26 as well.
I didn't notice anything weird.
So you noticed nothing weird about your mom?
Nothing weird. She had just woken up. She was tired. And I walked in to talk to her about my belly bag.
Thank you.
You may.
I have nothing further.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, do you have any questions for this witness? We'll just pass them to the end of the row, please. Counsel, will you approach? Just one question, and then I'll allow the attorneys to follow up if they have anything else. Do you remember how you got to school on April 11th, 2007?
I think it was my dad that dropped me off, but I'm not positive. I don't know, but I do think that it was him that dropped me off.
Okay. Do you have follow-up questions?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Very good. May she be released from her trial subpoena?
Yes, Judge.
Any objection from the defense?
No objection.
You're released from your trial subpoena, which means you won't be brought back to give any further testimony. You may step down. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
State calls Anna Walthall.
Ms. Walthall, if you'll come up here, please, to the clerk's desk. Please raise your right hand and take an oath.
You do solemnly swear to testimony you shall give in the case now pending before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Thank you. If you'll be seated here, counsel, will you approach the bench, please? Is take a recess for about 10 minutes. Please keep in mind my prior admonition to you. Don't form or express any opinion about the case. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves or with anyone else. Do no research on your own. Avoid internet, television, radio, news broadcasting. You may step down for just a few minutes. We will be just 10 minutes. Court's in recess.